get you all set up if you're brand new with us. But yeah, so as we kind of go into this week, a few things that I've noticed in the chat is that there's quite a few new things out there. So just really quickly, I did want to just give an overview of where to look for this new stuff with Kairos bands. It's pretty simple. You go into the open the indicator in your invite only scripts. You have a drop down menu, and all of them are auto detect. So if you look at the name on the drop down menu, and let me share my screen really quick. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with my screen up just because um, I have internet issues here at the hotel. So I'm just going to quickly show you guys on this. So let's go. So if we go to invite only scripts and scroll down, find your indicator.
I'm not seeing your screen, David.
Oh, you're not? Let me.
No, it just says you are sharing your entire screen.
Oh, really? I think I'm having too many technical difficulties. Maybe you can show them on your screen.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, let me just turn that off. Yeah, but I did notice that, and that was kind of a last minute thought. Sorry, not to tell.
Uh-oh. I know
Looks like
David's having,
yeah, I
yep.
went in and out. But yeah, so Brad will share his screen, and he'll quickly just go over where to find these new setups and make sure you're set up for the week, and then start from there. Let's see.
Yep. So
Uh,
if you come to your trading view, if you're new to getting one of these strategies from the marketplace or anywhere else, you'll go to indicators and invite only. Ignore all the stuff. I've purchased a lot of things over the years, but you'll see it in here. For example, ours, Kairos bands or Kairos MA. We have a couple of versions and stuff we're testing. But you'll just click on that, and I'll show you Kairos bands. Even though I already have one on here, um, it added another one on there. I want to delete it because I don't need a second one, but um, it will add it on there to your chart. And as David was mentioning in Kairos bands, we do have auto detect, and we have quite a few presets. We did release some new preset settings today, um, and we can walk through those, just kind of the back test results here in just a second, because I need to decide what I'm going to run, and I'll walk through creating the alert and getting it connected to ClearEdge as well. But we have these presets that you can select, but we also have auto detect as well. So as you go through the different 1 minute and 5 minute timeframes on the assets that are within here, which are the ones I happen to have on my watch list over here, it'll auto change to those preset settings, which just makes it easier if you um, are scrolling through, or especially if you're on a phone. That's the reason why I kind of wanted that months ago, is I can just scroll through the assets and not have to worry about then going back to the indicator and selecting which one I'm on. And it's also new if you're easy. You don't want to mess with stuff. You just kind of want to have something to plug and play. The presets make it easy. A lot of people do want to tinker with it, and we can provide the settings that are behind these if you want to take them and tweak them a little bit to see if you can find something better. Because by no means are we saying these are the best settings. We just do some optimization and find ones that seem to have pretty good back test. Um, but yeah, real quick, I'll walk through the ones. Like I said, we released some new presets today, and I'll walk through the ones that kind of, in my opinion, just catch my eye as being decent. Again, some of them aren't that great, but they're better than the previous ones have been performing. So went ahead and pushed those out. But I'm gonna keep trying to tweak over the next day or two, and we'll push out another update if we find some better settings for some of these. But the 1 minute and the 5 minute M2K are pretty solid. Um, 1 minute's kind of iffy a little bit because it's so tuned to the current market conditions, which is good in some ways, bad in others. Because if the market changes next week, then these settings don't work because there's only 3 weeks worth of data in that in the regular range from chart back test. But me personally, I think this is one that I might run. I'm trying to decide between the 1 minute M2K and the 1 minute RTY because they both look pretty solid. Um, it's just the iffy part again is the fact that it's 1 minute, and the next week may not be the same as the next 3 weeks. Normally, 5 minutes is going to be more consistent. I hate when these charts do that. More consistent over time because you have more data and more market conditions, and it's not just taking so many trades. Because you see here let's see, the 5 minute is 255 trades, the 1 minute is 149 trades. So it's only what, like a fourth of the time or even less than that, but it's more than half the trades. So you're taking a lot more trades. So it's active, and sometimes that can be good for just trying to pass an eval really quick. Funded accounts, I definitely think 5 minute is normally the way to go just to be a little bit more consistent. But
Yep.
I don't
Static
know if,
accounts would be a lot better with that. You
yep,
just the end of days will kill you if you have a bad day. So it's there's definitely some thought process that has to go behind if you're going to run 1 minute settings with a lot of trades or not.
yep. And then also the silver settings, even though there's more drawdown, I know whenever we started releasing Kairos back in December, January, silver was crazy and it was making a lot of money for people. And then silver just kind of fell off from that. But it was, yeah, both of these actually ended up being pretty decent, the 1 minute and the 5 minute. But again, those are something, silver is just so volatile and it's expensive to trade because small moves can cost a lot of money. So if you end up getting any crazy wicks or news or anything like that, it can make you a lot of money quick, but it can also lose you a lot of money quick. So I would be very cautious about trading that if anybody does. Um, Another one that was pretty decent when we re-optimized a 5 minute MNQ. That one seems to be pretty consistent. I know the previous one, it went into a little bit of a lull and then it started coming back. As our plan with most of these, as long as a back test looks fairly decent, is to really let them sit for, probably up to around a month. Because as people know, and I know even Elevated will admit that the new settings curse, where you find something that backtests good, you release it, and the next week it just doesn't do very well. It goes into a drawdown or flat, and then it'll bring itself back. But so just make sure you size right, and then make sure you so that way if it does go on a bad streak, then you still have some room in your account to let it come back. Um, what were the other ones? I think, David, we were talking about there's not I did create a 1 minute. It just wasn't previously in there, so I'll need to add it on gold. Um, MGC is just one of those right now. You see some of these wicks. I mean, these are crazy wicks
Yeah.
that can just get you. And it always scares me when you have trades that last like a candle or something because slippage on these can just be crazy because if that was already dumping down, you might have gotten filled down here and then you didn't get the whole profit. So it can skew this back test a lot. Um, so it's just kind of the metals are just kind of iffy with the volatility lately and the crazy candles that we've been getting. And then I know one we were talking about before this was oil. That the back test looks solid on this to me. It's got a nice equity curve, but with oil and just the political things that are going on, it's a scary one to trade. You can in the eval. It's another one I would just be cautious on of trading funded, or just make sure you're using small enough size. Because there was one, um, was it on the 1 minute? There was one we looked at before this. It wasn't the 1 minute, but that had a big wick on it was right here, or a
Yeah,
big
it's right
candle
there.
on, yep, on this stop out. So who knows how fast that move and if you really would have been filled somewhere down here. So just with the volatility or this take profit for that instance, right? I mean,
Could have
there
been
was a
filled.
large wick above, you could have been filled up here, or it could have just bounced back and you filled down here. So it just skews the backtest data if things are moving that fast and that volatile because you don't know where you're going to get filled at. But
Yeah. Yep.
um,
Definitely something to be cautious about.
Yeah.
I just was telling Brad before the stream, I'm not going to be running gold or silver or crude on anything that really matters. If I run it, I'll run it on some evals, maybe some test evals, just to see how the fills are happening. Because I like to see in real time just what's happening with the fills, and it's easier to look at a P&L than it is to try to discern it with the alerts and try to figure out where it filled exactly.
Yep. All right, so what I need to do is I have to get a an account set up. I just bought a new 150K Lucid account. So I need to get it set up, and kind of the thing is just looking at these new presets. I'm trying to decide between M2K and RTY. Again, the 1 minutes can be questionable. It's and I know everybody kind of thinks through these things differently, but my thought process when looking at these numbers, right? A lot of people may see this $22,000 and think, "Oh, that's better because you there's more money than M2K," right? But if you're thinking, even though these are micro to minis, that this is mini and M2K is the micro, um, it's really you have to really, at least the way I do it, I think of it about drawdown. I'll do as an example the 1 minute, even though one's 1 minute, one's 5 minute, just to kind of show the point of what I do. This is 3,200 profit, 239 drawdown. If you go to M&Q 5 minute, and if you do just say last 30 days as an example, because that's roughly what the back test is. To me, to compare apples to apples, I try to look at the drawdown to each other. So if I have one, like for example, this one that's showing 500 drawdown, and if my other one's showing 200 and something, I'll say, okay, technically to do it apples to apples and have comparable drawdown, I need to double the size on my M2K to get there. So it's not as easy as just looking at the P&L and seeing which one made more. You might make more, but you might have 4 times the amount of drawdown, so you're not really comparing apples to apples in that case. So I try to size up on the one with less drawdown to equal the drawdown of the other one I'm comparing to, and then see if I end up with more profit in that case. Or for this, let me go back to reset. In this case, when I'm looking at M2K versus RTY, it's a 10 to 1, right? So if I'm doing 10 micros, this is 32,000 profit, and I'll change it on the chart just to make it easier to can't it's in the yeah, I can. Size is not in the preset. So it's $32,000 profit to 2,300 drawdown. And if I go to RTY, change that back because I'm not trading 10 RTY. You see that I have basically the same amount of drawdown, but 10,000 more profit by trading the M2K settings. So to me, that makes M2K a little bit more appealing because it's going to give more profit based on the amount of drawdown. Although I don't think I'm going to trade 10. I would probably just trade 5. But let me walk through setting things up because I need to connect my new account and then create an alert and then get everything connected and ready to trade tonight. So if you guys do have any questions, make sure to post them in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer them for you.
Yeah, let me make sure I have the chat turned on. In here. Yep. All right. Should show up on the screen.
Okay. All right, so let me pull up my ClearEdge, and this is hopefully I don't get in trouble for it because this is the beta version that we're testing. That you've seen some screenshots with P&Ls and stuff like that. And then I can show it in a minute. We're also testing a VWAP version of Kairos that seems to be working well. I'm running it just for really to make sure everything's executing right. The settings aren't actually good that I'm running, but So real quick, we'll go in here, we'll connect the broker. So we hit the plus sign. I know a lot of people, we get questions about all the other different prop firms and the names. Those are all coming off with the update because most people don't have Project X anymore. And then I think y'all have also seen that there is Ninja that's in testing as well. But in this case, mine is with Tradovate, and this is, I have used this one before. I'm going to rename it to Lucid. And then if you come over here, it's one thing that I think people don't really know. You can set credentials. And that did show up on a different screen. Let me grab it. You'll get a little pop-up box where you can put your username and your password in. So then every time you turn it on, it'll automatically log in for you. But I am going to move that off the screen just to make sure it doesn't show any data while I copy this. So give me just 1 second. Let me get this put in here. All right, now my password. Okay, so now I have set my credentials. And then I'm going to turn it on and it'll automatically log in for me. So this is a
Now,
new
what
100.
made you what made you decide on a 150K compared to the 100K compared to the 50K from Lucid?
Um, Honestly, a lot of times I personally do the cheap one because it's to me the size is, well, if you're new, buy the cheap one in my opinion and trade one contract and just get familiar with everything and kind of get in your groove. For me, it ends up being it ends up being the size account doesn't really matter as much unless you're trying to run silver or NQ or something like that. If you're running micros, you can do a 25K account and just size appropriately, and you're spending less money. I mean, you can't obviously scale as much at the end if you end up with 500 accounts because you can only get so many contracts. But to me, if they're ones that you're kind of running, maybe you're testing stuff out, seeing how things run, then getting in the cheapest way, honestly, is the best. Hey, Dan.
Good evening, guys.
But yeah, that's just kind of my thought. I normally honestly buy the 25K. In this case, I decided that I was gonna buy a bigger one and just give myself more. I'm still gonna trade smaller, which I know David, you and I, and I think Dan as well, differ in this, especially with Lucid when you don't have a monthly cost. It's just a
Yeah.
one time. I'm fine with taking that slower and not risk blowing the account, so I don't have to buy a new one. If it's something where you have a monthly cost, then yeah, sure. If you want to trade more aggressive and either pass it or blow it, because you're gonna have to pay again the next month, then nothing wrong with that mentality. But the ones that have a one-time cost, I'm fine with taking it slow. And if it takes me, a month or two to pass it, then especially newer people, I think Lucid is a good approach because one-time cost, you're already paying for a trading view, clear edge, strategies, everything. So just find something that you can kind of take your time and learn from it, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, just
But
getting started out for sure. I wouldn't even
yeah,
try to.
Yeah, I think there is a lot to be said for developing healthy habits early on, and I think that for someone just starting in the automation world, I think that doing what you're talking about and taking the time to pass versus doing what I do and what David does, which is not taking our time and being okay with the expense, and that's how I look
yep,
at it is evaluations are an expense that go against my my profits that I withdraw, and so there's multiple ways to do it. Learning how to automate so that we all know, like, the worst part about prop firms, or the mentally the worst part about prop firm trading is you pass these evaluations you're all pumped. Hey, I passed an evaluation. I have an opportunity to take out some real money now. And then you get to the funded stage and you blow it. We all know that cycle that happens all too often for many prop firm traders. It's sort of a running joke, I think I posted something over the weekend that was a meme, about just this, where you pass these evaluations and you get funded, and boom, funded account now is blown. So I think what you're talking about for a lot of people is a good way to do it, because you're learning what it would be like to actually trade a funded account.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing this long enough, David's been doing this long enough, where I can differentiate for myself the different styles, right? Where I have the aggressive style trying to get funded fast, and I have the funded style, which is slow and very minimal risk. I think until you hone that skill to be able to differentiate those, I do think there is some benefit in going slow.
Yeah.
Well, I think if
return on
you have,
investment, yeah,
I think one thing that hurts newer traders too is when you have these, like a Apex, a 1 day to pass, or whoever else may have it, or the other with 50% consistency. So people try to pass in 2 days, and maybe you do sometimes, right? But people still try to trade that same way in a funded account, as if you were going to pass it, because you're like, oh, I made $9,000 in 2 days to pass an eval, and you start thinking, if I can make that in 2 days in a funded account, then I'll be rich. And sometimes you may get lucky and it may happen, but you're going to have bad streaks. So that you just have to size. But people get into that mindset. We all do that trader math. We've all been guilty of it. But if you think smaller, and I know Dan and David, we both talked about this, but if you granted, they have rules where you have to make so much, but say if you were only making $100 per day per account, and you maxed out accounts you can have across all these prop firms, which is probably like 50 accounts at this point, at least. That's a lot of money. So you don't have to hit those home runs and make, $4,000 or $5,000 a day on each account. If you can just find something slow and consistent, or know that at least your winning days outweigh your losing days, even if it ends up being where it's a couple $100 per month, when you multiply that times, 50 accounts, that ends up being multiple $1,000s. And I don't know about everybody else, but for me, if I can make multiple thousands of dollars per month, I'm fine with that. I don't have to make $1 million per month. But I mean, I wouldn't turn it down if I could, but
I think that too, I think the expectation setting for yourself, and something I always talk about in, set up meetings with new users, is the number one thing you want to your goal one is to pay expenses.
Yeah.
And goal one needs to be achieved before any sort of profitability can even be thought about, right?
Yeah. So
you look at, and you've got to sort of jot down on a piece of paper, what are my monthly expenses for running this this strategy, this system, right? So you're gonna have your prop firm account. Let's use Lucid. Let's call it $80, right? One-time cost, but let's call it $80. Then you've got your Clear Edge software and strategy together. Let's call it $200. All right, whatever it is. And then if you want a VPS, $40, so $320. All right, just that right there. There's your break even. Now, if you can double your money, right? And people always talk, any investment, right? If you can make 100% on your return on investment, so 100% return on investment is $640. So I mean, that's very achievable. Yeah. And Nate, I did respond to your ticket earlier. I sent you the link just to make let's schedule an appointment through that link. But I think that's a very achievable goal for people to sort of have at the beginning, is cover your expenses and then sort of look at what multiple of your expenses you can make as a return. We're doing our job if we can get people at least doubling their money, right? I think
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
I would, at the very least. Yeah, I mean, that's a solid investment if you're able to double your money. Now, I think
Yep.
a lot of people have this sort of skewed way of thinking where that wouldn't be a good investment, but it is. I mean, there's no way around it. If you go to the casino, you put $100 bill in to a machine, and you get $200 bills back, you made out. That's
Yeah.
a really good day.
Yep.
Yep. And looking at making,
I think it's that thinking in a more realistic and sort of down to earth way that can really help
Yeah.
people at the very beginning. Is setting those expectations where, hey, can I make a return on my investment? And then the expectation setting of, we always talk about sort of 3 to 6 months it takes people sort of in automation world to become net profitable, right? From zero experience doing this to net profitable, 3 to 6 months is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
yeah.
We've had people
And
that
what
do
you're
it
saying,
faster.
yeah, what you're saying is not unreasonable either. It's not like a high expectation, like, oh,
But
I
it's
need to
setting
cover my
that good
costs.
expectation level for yourself where, you know, investing in your knowledge base and how to do this will pay off in multiples in the reasonably near future, right? On the high end, 6 months from now, you could be 10x, 20x, 30x your investment. Ask any professional investor or gambler in the world.
Yeah.
It is a hell of a return. So,
Dan, I hate to jump in real quick. I want to get this signal set up. I want to walk through it as I'm doing it because we have 3 minutes or so. Real quick, y'all saw me set up the add the broker to the ClearEdge application. So now I'm going to come to the little radio tower button. I'm going to click new signal. Now I'm going to name mine. There's no rhyme or reason. You just name it so you know what it is when you look at it later. And Kairos is a strategy. So then I'm going to click next. And then you're going to use this. This is what people refer to as the JSON message, is what tells us kind of what to do. The strategy will give it the position, the number of contracts, all that stuff. So I'm going to copy this message, go back to TradingView. And if you're trying to create an alert, you hit the 3 little dots beside whatever strategy you're trying to create from. Oh, I need to go back to M2K. And then you're going to click those, add alert. And I personally hate the way they have changed this
Yeah,
UI.
same.
Me too. It makes it a little more jumbled.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to call this Kairos Bands M2K. And then I need to go get I already have my ClearEdge one in there, so I don't have to change the webhook because that stays the same across all of them. I am going to notify an app, and I'm going to apply and create. So make sure, if you, depending on what plan, this open-ended, or if it has an expiration date, if you have a lower tier TradingView plan, just make sure you note that date, because your alert will stop working when that happens and you'll need to create a new one. So just we have had some people saying my alerts didn't go off and they find out that their alert is expired.
Something to always make, I at least this is my preference, I always make sure my time frame is on same as churn.
Yeah, correct.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
That should auto go if you click the 3 dots on the indicator. If you try to make an alert through the normal means, which is the top right, and then press create alert, you're going to have to enter all that in manually, but it should auto do it if you press the 3 dots when you hover over the indicator.
So then the last part, we added the broker, we added the signal, we entered that signal information into TradingView. So the last part is to add that actual signal to my broker. So I'm in Lucid and I'm adding it here. This is going to be M2KM6. And I'm going to trade 5 contracts. So then I'm done. A lot of people will think this is it, but an easy way to tell is if you come here you'll see that I have my top step on, I have my lucid on, I have this VWAP that I'm testing turned on. I don't have my bands turned on yet. So both of these toggles have to be turned on for it to work. If your broker's on, your strategy's not, it won't work, or vice versa. And another question is, whenever I talk to people and they might ask, what is an automation agent? Or I have two, what can I run? Essentially, these green toggles down here, the little ones that you have turned on.
I'm freezing. Maybe.
Are you, Dan? Can you hear me still? Okay. I think it's on David's side. He's traveling, so he's got hotel internet. But your agents are basically going to be these little toggles that are on. That's going to, because right now I'm using two agents on here. So that's one question that people will have. So the market has opened. Even though I'm trading the M2K, I'm going to go look at MNQ. That was a pretty big gap down, a 300-point gap down at open. What are you trading this week, Dan? Anything you've got your eye on?
Probably crude.
Probably. What did it do? Oh,
yeah,
geez, that
I'm
was a
watching
big.
oil. Oil's been on my screen all week. I like when these. I like sort of waiting a candle or two on these big gap down, gap up moves.
Yeah.
Usually you can get a decent gap trade, but you're gonna have to let this settle out for 5-10 minutes. We'll see what happens here, but gapping down here below Friday's low is not a great look.
Yeah.
We're getting into the area that's a real air gap in markets, so we're just
by air gap
really hovering at support on the NASDAQ from November 20th, right before Thanksgiving. So that is a real sketchy area that the markets are in right now.
For people that might not know what you mean by air gap, are you just talking about low volume areas?
Yeah, so I use volume profile a lot. You can share my chart if you like. And I have the so this is volume profile over here, right? So these big big nodes here, right? That's a lot of volume. When you get this small one, there's not a whole lot of volume. Then there's more volume here. This means this area is going to be supportive down here. This area is also going to be very congested up here. But it means when we came through this area here from 65.25, essentially where we are now, all the way down to 62.55, 300 points on ES. It's actually even more, down to 61.20. There's no volume to support us because back in June of 25 all the way till September of 25 last summer, we moved through that area very rapidly. So there wasn't really a whole lot of support built up there. You can also see we're getting below this low from November 20th. You can see the same thing on the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ's even a little bit nastier. You can just see that low volume area here.
So what are you looking to?
All the way down to 21,800 of incredibly low volume. So that's what I mean, where this is just a really sketchy area for markets. So reclaiming this area, so you really for ES 65.20, if we can reclaim and hold that area, that's an area to be long off of and sort of stop out under 65.20. I think that's not a bad area to be long. You've got a defined risk with an air gap below where you could have plenty of time to flip short.
I don't know if you pull up crude, it had a big spike up and it's basically filled the gap back already.
Yeah, this is sort of typical for crude on market open. Like this was last Sunday.
Yeah.
Pretty typical of crude to do that on Sunday night, especially sort of during Middle East war or conflict. So that doesn't surprise me too much. I mean, that's a big wide range, though. We'll see where that settles out.
What I was curious. I don't even know, David, if you're driving or what y'all are doing, but how much is gas up there where you're at now, Dan?
Premium is over 4.
Yeah, it was 520 when I just looked when we were driving. But this is Hawaii,
Yeah,
so
but
it's
everything's more expensive over there though. So
yeah.
Regular is like 360.
yeah, I paid $3.59 today for it, which that's I told my wife today. I said we're probably going to hit over $4. I said just watch it in the next couple. Well, especially if the war keeps going on, I think we'll go up some more. But
Yeah, Washington State was about 550. It was actually more expensive than Hawaii.
no, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's but yeah, I definitely like the look of this, like breaking into a low volume node or a low volume area with like strategies like the 5-minute MNQ bands or something like that, to where we might see some pretty good moves in one direction, which is what I like to see with bands, especially because you're buying on like the low or the high typically, because you're on that Bollinger Band. So continuation is necessary for good trades with that. So that's what I like to see personally, breaking into an area like this, because I can expect to see some good one-way movement with price.
So I took a short here off of Friday's lows. On NQ. I will reverse long sort of over 24,000 on NQ. So it's just a small sort of defined risk short here.
Do you I guess just talk, because I know you run automation and then your manual trading. What's your approach on kind of separating those two if there's others that are doing both of those?
I don't. I trade manually in cash. I don't run prop firms on manual trading. That's my own. I might flip here. I have a stop and reverse at 24.10. So, but I would suggest that people, if you, for example, you're going to automate on Top Step, right? Or whatever, Apex, manual trade on Lucid, don't commingle.
Yep.
You run the risk of getting into like hedged positions, and I think you've got to have a major separation here.
Yeah, and I think one thing too is you'll see some people that you see the back test on a strategy, which looks good, which makes you decide to run that. But then you manual trade on top of it, and I've done this myself, because maybe it has a losing day, you're down 200 or 300, but like I'm just gonna manual trade to get back to break even. Then all of a sudden you're down $800, $1,000, and then you just tilt and you blow the account. So to me, if you're setting one to run automation and you have a strategy, of course, every strategy goes through its drawdowns and flat times and stuff, but you have one that shows good results. You just basically got to let it run. Chances are, is it going to blow an account at some point? Sure. But it's all about the numbers and the game of just trying to be profitable more than you're losing on those accounts. But trying to manual trade back a prop account that you have automation on so you can just wipe out that losing day is a bad idea, because I've done it far too many times.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't touch especially guys coming in. I just don't touch. If you have an account, if you have a prop firm that you're automating on, I just wouldn't even try manual trading it. It's just,
Yeah.
You're trying to get your feet wet with this. Just let the automation run, win or lose. I'm looking at. I think Nara mentioned it. Return on investment. So if I'm putting $1,000 into prop evals every month, and I know my best months, I'm making 10 times what I put in. And so I'm not too worried about 3 or 4 months if I'm not hitting my return on investment every single month, because I know my good months, I'm going to be making plenty to cover any of my expenses for my previous months that I was maybe flat or not doing so great.
Yeah.
But
This new strategy just got short crude.
is that the vector?
Mm-hmm.
That so is that a break even stop that's doing like right? I noticed that the projection has a stop loss and then the stop loss like
It looks like
moves.
it at some point here. It looks like this red line is some sort of stop.
Okay, that's interesting. I like how he has
Probably
stuff.
some sort of ATR. My guess.
Yeah, I like how the projection. It looks like it's almost going underneath structure. Like the stop is
Yeah.
moving up to
Yeah.
structure.
That's essentially what an ATR will do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for that one to get on the marketplace. People will try it out and check it out.
Yeah.
Lee's been having some good success with it.
It
I know
had 3 winners in a row, so I reduced sizing to minimum sizing right now, which is something I do pretty often, to be honest.
Yeah. Those are some big wins too. Looks like.
Yeah, those are pretty big. Which is one of those things whenever people sign up and they ask what strategy, I tell them personally, all of them have a 7-day free trial. Sign up for all of them, take a look at them, because there'll be some people, like it depends on what you want. Like with Kairos, we have a set profit target and stop loss. Some people like structure and they like knowing what it's going to be. I know Elevated will have, I think it's on the reversals that it uses ATR. So you may have some, 130 point profit targets and 100-point stop loss. Because I know there was one a couple weeks ago that people were scared about, but it ended up hitting the profit target. But you just have to make sure that you understand what the strategy is doing, because if you have one that could have a 100-point stop loss, you just need to make sure you're sized right. You don't need to go in there with one NQ, thinking you're going to survive a prop account. So you just need to look at it and make sure. And there's some people, if you get more than 10 points in against you, they're going to get nervous. Their heart's going to start racing, right? So you just need to look, and everybody knows their own mental game and what works for them. So I say all of them have a 7-day free trial. Go try all of them, see which one jives with you the best. That maybe makes it, you're not obviously going to know all the ins and outs of the strategy, but you can at least know enough to know how it trades, and know if, the size of the take profit, stop loss, the frequency of trade. I'm still working on this myself. I'm one of those that I feel a lot of times if I'm not in a trade, then I'm not making money. So I'm one that tends to like more trades. Some people might prefer one trade a week if they know it's a solid trade. So there's just different strategies that do different things. So find out the one that works with the way you like to trade, and then keep that one and cancel the rest of them. But I don't think there's any harm in trying out all of them just to see which one makes the most sense with the way you like to trade, and that doesn't make you stressed about it, basically.
Yeah. And familiarize yourself with how these back tests work and like how to read them, because there are errors in them. I know we've run across people that add trailing stops to their stuff and maybe put it like a point back with like NQ, and they don't understand when they look at the back test. It looks great. They don't understand what's realistic and what's not realistic. None of it's going to be perfect, so it's all there's a margin of error that you have to be aware of going into these and looking at them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just took a nice gold trade there. Ninja did.
Oh, Ninja, nice.
Nice.
I need to update my charts. I think I still have the old ones. I don't think I have anything turned on it right now, but I like to look and see how they're doing.
Yeah.
David, do you want me? I know we've mentioned it. Do you want me to show VWAP and just talk about it? Hopefully, we're going to have it released here in the next week or two.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Um,
it's definitely a one for a different style trade, like you were mentioning. The people that like a bunch of trades, you
yeah,
can make the VWAP one take a bunch of trades, but I like it to take a couple good trades, or maybe 3 or 4 a week, kind of
yeah,
like Market Ninja or Market Ranger, where it's not taking a ton of trades, but it's
yep.
taking a lot more strategic trades. Um, could definitely fit a certain risk profile a lot better.
Dan, I don't know how this works if I try to share at the same time. So I don't know if you need to stop yours or will
It'll
it show both of ours or
No, I'll just toggle yours. I can just
okay.
toggle them on and off.
Okay, there we go. So again, my VWAP settings aren't there because they're good settings. I'm just doing just testing executions to make sure everything works the way it's supposed to. But basically, what it's doing is you can set your VWAP to different settings, whether you want the session, week, or month. And then you can, I just have it showing the second deviation band because that's what I'm trading off. I have this triggered off of. I know David found good settings off the third one, which again, it might only take 2 trades a week, but they were solid trades. So that's where you can kind of make it take more or less. But basically what it's going to do is if it, let me go back and find a trade from, mine are normally triggering because I have it on the second one. They're triggering it open, so they're normally pretty quick. But in this case, you see right here, let me make this bigger. You see right here that it wicked above the band that I have it triggering off of. And if it closes back below that, then you're going to get short. I don't remember what I have the profit target set on this. It's something smaller, which you probably wouldn't even be trading really in this time frame because you want to let things kind of settle out. But I think I have it maybe on 20 points, 640. I can't see these numbers in here because everything's that one hit because it hit VWAP. But basically, it's trading back down to VWAP. If you have your profit target set, say up 100 points on NQ, right? And if you're trading off the third deviation band, your entry may be way up here. So you may hit 100 points before you ever get back to the VWAP. So basically, your profit target's going to be VWAP unless your static profit target is less than that, then it will close out when it gets there. So again, this is one, David and I talked about it. I was like, this is a very simple concept, right? Where it's easy for people to understand, and kind of why for the people that have the top tier of the ClearEdge plan and they get the GovGap with it. To me, I like it because it's very simple, and sometimes simple is the best thing. And there's some way you can tweak it by what your opening range is if you want to trail stop, things like that. But it's something that's very simple for somebody that's just starting out. You can look at it and you can know what the strategy is doing. Same way here, right? You know that it's coming up and then it's going. I have it set where it doesn't trade until a certain time. That's why it didn't trigger off some of these. I don't remember what the start time was. But again, this is very simple, and it's having to meet other confluences as well. So that's the reason, even though it triggered a few other times, or it wicked above or below, it didn't trigger a trade. But most of the ones that
Here, let me
most
make
of the
this
ones that
bigger.
I am getting are,
You see right here that it wicked something small.
you see, we're getting
Someone
reflected
getting
in the
feedback here.
triggered
A few other times, or it wicked above or That's below, you,
it didn't
David?
trigger a trade. But most of the ones that David, is that you with background noise? Do you have the stream on? There it goes. Okay. But you see here, basically, it wicked above the other confluences met, which are the same kind of confluences that are in bands. And then I had the profit target, which 203. I think it's about 20 points is what I have set. But if you want to set it to come back to VWAP to be your target, or maybe you had 100 points. I mean, eventually this one did hit VWAP, and that would have been a
Sorry about that.
204.
That was my internet connection went out. I was trying to figure out if you guys were still live or not.
That's okay. But this would have been about a 100-point trade if you had VWAP to your as your target. But yeah, overall, very simple concept. It has the confluences built into it. So it has the VWAP here for this session. It's building those deviation bands. I can turn on the other ones just to be able to see those. I just like a clean chart, so I don't want all the lines on there personally. But now we have all of those bands there, so that would show you if you're trading off the different ones, what it would look like. So that's a, again, simple one, but I would imagine it's probably the way that quite a few manual traders actually trade. So we're testing out just a few more things. Again, hopefully here in the next week or two, we will have this one released. And as usual, we'll try to find a couple of good settings or two to release when we let this one out. It looks like there was a question. What would you guys recommend to try as a first strategy? Go back to what I was mentioning a while ago. Of course, David and I are probably going to be somewhat biased because we created Kairos bands. It's easy just because of the fact that it has presets in it. But my recommendation is, pick 2 or 3 of them and try them out. We have a Kairos bands and MA bundle. I know Elevated has a Market Ninja and Market Ranger bundle. So you could do those 2 bundles and you're getting 4 strategies at once that you can try and watch them and see how they trade and which one seems to make sense. But it's 7-day free trial, so get the bundles, try it, and decide which one you want to continue with. But it's a good way to try them before you ever have to pay anything for them. So, well, it looks like we lost David again. Are you still there, David? I guess not. Wasn't sure if he was still on audio. So what do you have running for automation this week, Dan?
I have Ninja. I have Kairos
I don't know. Can you hear me?
RTY. And I have this new one on MCL.
Okay. Yeah, it's always one challenge when you have several options is deciding which one you want to run. Especially with all the hedging stuff lately, because I know I've mentioned this before. I will typically run one strategy, one asset per prop firm. Just because I know the props are cracking down on hedging, which of course makes it hard because I know like Elevated on Ninja has some good MNQ, has some gold. I don't remember what other settings he's put out. But so that's 2 right there. And using my philosophy, you would have to do that on 2 prop firms. And then if you have 2 or 3 assets you wanted to trade on bands, you would have to do another 2 or 3 prop firms. So it makes it harder to really expand or run multiple things. But that's why to me you find a particular one, and maybe you find that you like gold on Ninja and you like M2K on bands, right? So you're running something from both of them, kind of to get different types of entries and different trade logic, and still able to kind of diversify a little bit. But yeah, as we get more and more stuff in the marketplace, it'll be good for diversity, but it'll be hard to think, what do I want to run this week? But I'm looking through to see if anything has really triggered any trades yet on bands. Oil had one loss on the 1 minute. Even though it was a big gap on most things, nothing's really triggered much so far from a band's perspective. I did put silver back out there if people want to trade it. If they're that back test actually looks pretty good on the 5-minute silver. It's been a little flat over the last, I guess, 2 weeks. Was the 1 minute good too? It wasn't as good. But I don't think people are as interested in silver as they were, what was that, the beginning of January, end of December, sometime around there when it was really good trading. But Well, I know David's having connection issues, so I don't know that he's going to be able to get back on stream. I think that's pretty much everything I've had to go over. I don't know if Dan, you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, my long triggered on NQ at around 24,000. So I just got my first scale here. So we will see how this goes here. See if we can get a gap fill.
Yeah, you still have if you get all the way, that's a 200-point
It's a
trade.
nice one.
Yeah, that would be a nice one if it fills all the way. I'll watch it for sure because that was a pretty big gap. But it's been almost straight up since then. So
Yep. I actually do have to jump off. I gotta go get my daughter ready for bed.
yeah, I have to drop our girls off at Girl Scouts tonight, so I'm gonna have
Oh,
to
nice.
head out of here as well. I know David was here a while ago and said he still had control of the stream, so
I can end it.
can you? Okay, because I was gonna say I don't know if it'll just keep going. Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
He's back.
I think
Yeah,
it just
I
came.
can-
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, look forward to a good week. Yeah, I didn't really have much more to add. I'm about to hit target on an NQ trade. But besides
Nice.
that, look forward to this week and being active in the chat, talking to y'all. Don't
Yep.
forget to like and subscribe to our channels if you have a chance. Helps us to just continue doing this.
Yep.
Yeah.
As we're getting off here, I just got triggered into a M2K trade. So we'll see how it does. But yeah, and also I know David's availability may be iffy with him out of town, but I know Dan posted the link to the Calendly link where if you need to schedule a setup, a one-on-one, just have questions, you need some tech help, schedule it with one of us. We can jump on and help you guys out and make sure everything's set up right. So don't ever hesitate to use that link, and it'll rotate between David, myself, Dan, or Lee, whoever's available. And just find a spot on the schedule and book a call with us, and we'll be happy to walk you through stuff.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and
Yep.
let's have a good week.
Yeah.
Well, talk to
See
y'all
ya.
later.
All right.
Bye.
Talk to you later.